Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'm very excited to finally share with you my final selection of colors for the spring theme palette that I started a good few weeks ago to put together with some of my tube paints that I wanted to use and explore. If you haven't seen any of the other videos and you are interested, I will leave in the description below the link for all the previous videos where I share different colors and brands while I'm choosing the tones I wanted for the palette. And yeah, you've just seen me pouring the paint now. I will let it dry for a few days, but I'm gonna take the chance to also swatch the final selection again to you, and I hope you will be able to see well the colors. It is a very cloudy day today here in Dublin. It's been very cloudy and grayish for the past days. I've been waiting for an opportunity to film and the sun just won't come up, so I'll do my best while editing and I hope it's alright. But before I start, as usual, I'd like to thank everyone that has been following me here, leaving your comments. I really appreciate it, and if you are watching these and you like watercolor related content, please consider subscribing. This will really help me grow the channel, have my content seen by more people, maybe get more materials to share with you in the future. So everything is really appreciated. Give me that thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notifications button, comment, share, all of that good stuff. So let's start now with the yellows and the reds, and then we'll go towards blues and then earth tones. So what I'm gonna use for these swatches, I prepare already here a little swatch sheet. This is the Bockingford rough paper, and I'll be using the Jackson's quill brush to swatch. And I think I'm gonna try something different for this swatch sheet. I'm gonna first wet the paper and then just add a little bit of pigment, so I think we'll give a nice idea also how this paint spread in wet washes, hopefully. So let's start with the first yellow of the bunch. I have here Transparent Yellow Medium by Van Gogh. It's a very nice and I would say very good for mixing also. Mid yellow tone. It's not too cool or too warm, so I found it to be very versatile. I have the same pigment from Roman Schmoll. I believe it's PY 128. Now next we have Yellow Lake from Sennelier. This one I was not thinking of including at first when I did the yellow swatches, but it's a yellow that I really like, and I find that it makes beautiful greens. It's Nico Ezo yellow, and I ended up adding it to this palette, the Sennelier version. I have many different versions of this pigment because I like it so much, and now I'll have a chance to work a bit more with the Sennelier version. It's a very beautiful pigment, very translucent, and it shows through any mixes that you do with it. Makes beautiful greens. Now next one you have Iso Indolinon Yellow by Holbein. Oops, I have a bit of leftover pigment here. This is a very orangey yellow, so It can work well to make muted greens, depending on the blue you mix it with. You can see that I have a good variety of yellows here. Then I only added one orange that's not actually called an orange, it's Cadmium Red Pale Hue by Cotman. It's probably the only, forgot to add the page, sorry. That's probably the only Cotman color that I like. I mean, I haven't used many Cotman colors, but as a student grade paints go, I think I prefer a Van Gogh. But this Cadmium Red Pale Hue is a lovely orangey tone that I like. I can hear the tick-tock of my clock downstairs. I hope if it comes through the video it's not too disturbing. Now the next one is another red. It's French Vermilion by Sennelier. When I swatched the reds, I was between this red and another red from Old Holland. I have only 2 colors from Old Holland, I think, and I decided to go with the Sennelier one in the end and add the Old Holland to another palette. I want to use it in limited palette to see how it looks. So let me see if I get the right one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. So this is French Vermilion. It's a warm red, and as with any Sennelier paints, it's very, very vibrant. I mentioned in previous videos that Sennelier was my first experience with professional watercolors, and I fell in love. And I'm still in love with these paints. They are not a brand that releases new colors very often. Actually, the last time they released something was the Iridescent line. They have a limited range of pigments, but their colors are very, very vibrant and I love them. Now we have Winsor & Newton Rose Dorée. This one is a bit thick out of the tube. Winsor & Newton famously has stated on their website that you shouldn't pour their tube paints to be used in palettes. That's why they sell half pans for. And I know some people don't quite like that approach they have. So I took a risk with this one. I will see how it behaves. I had the intention of using other colors from Winsor & Newton in this palette that I had swatched previously. There was Viridian and Potter's Pink, but after I realized that these are pigments that have notable properties of getting hard once out of the tube, so I didn't want to risk having a hard time using them. So I decided to opt for different tones. But this Rose Dorée is a bit gummy as it is now, but we'll see how it dries. Next one is Rose Madder Lake by Sennelier. It's a very beautiful pink, PV19. Look at this beautiful spreading. Very, very vibrant. And these will also make beautiful grays mixed with a green that I selected, and I will show when it comes the time. So here you have the first row. Now you are getting closer to the violet tones, but we still have another pink. Now we have Rose Madder Genuine from Winsor & Newton. Like I said, I was a bit worried that the Winsor & Newton paints would get too hard, but this one has a beautiful flowery smell, and I couldn't leave it out of the palette. It's a very discreet granulating pink. It's not as vibrant as the Sennelier Rose Madder, and unfortunately, as it happens with blend pigments, this is not light fast, so better to be used in sketchbooks or artwork that you intend to scan and print. Now we have Quinacridone Red Violet by Rembrandt. This is a very, very vibrant magenta type of color. As I didn't include a purple, I include ultramarine violet, but not a strong purple like a dioxazine purple. I thought this would be good to mix purples. Now we have the ultramarine violet, also by Rembrandt. I think I added a bit too much. And I have an helicopter flying over my roof, if you hear the noise through the recording. That's a beautiful ultramarine violet. Has very soft, gentle granulation. Now we have another ultramarine. This is Ultramarine Finest. Is PB29 Ultramarine Blue by Schminke. This came in a little set I got on a birthday when I was just starting with watercolors. I had tried Sennelier and really loved it, and I wanted to gift myself with a set, and I was recommended Schminke in the store, and this is one of the colors that came in the set. But because I see myself using pens for their practicity or being just easy to use, I ended up leaving them stored, and I didn't use them much because I have a lot of different ultramarine blues. Every brand has their version, and you inevitably finish with different versions of the same pigment. Maybe it's a bit too light, my swatch here. Try to darken it a little bit. Now we have another color by Schminke that came in the same little set, and it's a very lovely blue tone. This is called Phthalo Sapphire. It's PB 15:6. It's a very beautiful tone of phthalo. I don't know if you could hear or if you can hear, but I can definitely say spring has started, even though we have cold, gray, rainy days here. But the blackbirds are back. And when you start hearing blackbirds singing in the dead of night, as the song says, or even in the late afternoon, like now, you know that it's spring. They have a very pleasant chirping sound. Now we have Manganese Blue Hue from Daniel Smith. This one, when I poured here on the palette, there was a bit of binder. No, the binder separation was in the cerulean blue chromium, actually. So you may have seen in previous videos when I have this issue of binder separation on tube paints. I use this paper punch to mix it. Find it thin enough and easy to clean. Now I'm swatching the cerulean blue chromium. This is a tone of blue that I rarely reach out for, don't really use it, so I thought it would be an opportunity to experiment a bit more with it. Now we finished the second row. I'm gonna move things here so you can see better. Now I am going to the third row. I have some turquoise colors, and then I'll go on to the greens and finally to the neutral colors. So next one is a very beautiful color I got from Holbein, and I don't think I've ever used it. It's called Marine. It's a beautiful teal, and teal is one of my very, very favorite colors, so I have all of the brands you can imagine that I could buy. Teal is one of the teal, turquoise, and olive greens. These are the colors I usually get first. Look at this super rich, very vibrant color. And I have phthalo turquoise from other brands, but this one is really nice. This one in combination with some of the greens I'll be showing you here, for me is just one of the my very favorite palettes. Another one kind of more in this turquoise family but greener. Oh, I forgot again to pre-wet the paper. This is Amazonite from Daniel Smith. I used it to substitute my initial idea of using Viridian from Winsor & Newton, because I heard Viridian can be very hard to re-wet, and I haven't used much the Amazonite color. I thought it would be a great opportunity to experiment a bit more. On its own is already a beautiful color, but if you mix that with a pink like the Rose Madder in the right proportion, very diluted, you can make beautiful grays for painting like white petals, for example, or very subtle shadows. Next we have another green that I need to experiment more with because I bought a long time ago and I never used it because I found it was so strange the first time I tested it. It's Green Earth from Sennelier. Let me turn the palette so it will be easier for me to reach out to the colors. So here you have the Green Earth. Unlike other brands, Sennelier Green Earth is PBR7 if I'm not mistaken. I'll be putting here on the screen the pigment. I mentioned in the previous video when I swatched it, but I forgot already. I just remember that it's not the usual pigment for Green Earth, that I believe is PG23 if I'm not mistaken. If I am, I'll correct myself when I'll be editing. But yeah, Sennelier uses a different pigment. It's a similar tone. You have different types of Green Earth. You have Green Earth cool and warm. This will be considered the warm version. And it's a very pale, very low tinting strength. And it has this characteristic is particular. It's a bit gummy. When I tried the first time, I found the paint doesn't really flow, but it has an interesting color and I thought I could explore it a little more. So I think it will be nice to have it here in the palette. Useful to paint plants if you want to use a very pale, muted type of green. It will also be balancing the other greens I have because I have some very vibrant greens coming up. The next one is, again, I forgot to pre-wet my paper, but the next one is Moss Green, but by Michael Harding. I also have very few colors by Michael Harding. They are quite expensive. Fortunately, the ones that I really liked when I saw the selection, they were not in the more expensive series. So I got them to try and I really love them. This Moss Green, look at this. It's very luminous because it has nickel azo yellow in the formulation. And if you dilute it, you have this shiny transparency to it, and I think it's the perfect color for moss. I can see this on top of a branch, for example, or even if I want to paint a seascape kind of scene, this would be perfect for algae or a frog. That would be nice. It's a long time I don't paint frogs. The next one is also a Michael Harding color. It's Bright Green Lake. And this, you see, is a very bright, in your face type of green. But I love these types of greens as well. So, yeah, I have a good mix here between muted and vibrant. You can see that used diluted is almost like a fluo type of green, and in mass tone is kind of a chartreuse type of color. vibrant lime green. Beautiful. I can even see myself using this together. Why not? New shoots. Now we have another vibrant green by Daniel Smith. That is one of my favorite colors by Daniel Smith. This is called green gold, but this is not the usual green gold that you get with PY 129. This is a convenience mix. Wow, look at this spread. I think I used too much. This spreads very quickly. It's very similar to the other green I just swatched. I don't know if it will be coming up in the camera or in the recording, rather, the difference. But this is warmer, this is cooler. I know they are very similar. I could probably do with only one of them, but these are among my favorite types of green, so I could not choose. Maybe if you see here on the palette, you can see better the difference, the color. This is the green gold from Daniel Smith, and this is bright green lake by Michael Harding. So you can see this is a bit more muted and warm. We'll see when they dry how they look as well. Now we have the last green, if I can call this a green color. It's called Greenish Amber, and it's by Rembrandt. I know Daniel Smith also has this color. I'm curious of trying maybe one day. It's not the most enticing type of green or brown, but I remember testing this color also diluted, and it had some separation. I thought was an interesting one. And you can see here diluted, it has a very nice kind of taupe tone. When I add a little bit more, so you can see in mass tone, it's a really creamy paint, the Rembrandt. You can see that it just spread immediately as soon as I poured it on the palette. And now we have here another row done. I'll have to move my I need to move my swatches up a bit so you can see the last row. We are getting now to the neutral colors, and the first one is the Van Dyke Brown by Michael Harding. This is another color I really love using, and unfortunately it's usually not light fast, but as far as I know, the not light fast ones, they start with NBR, the pigment number, and the Michael Harding one has a different pigment that it's supposed to be more light fast. I should probably do some tests, but considering the general lack of sunny days here, it can take years for me to figure out if things are not light fast. Of course, I'm joking. I have some things I put on the windowsill and they changed color pretty quickly, so I should probably do some tests. Very beautiful, cool brown with granulation. Now we have another granulating color. This is Random Gray by Schmincke. This was a color they released I don't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago, made out of remnants of pigments for the other colors they created throughout the year. It's a very interesting gray. I was going to add this and the cobalt black from Mugello because I really love that color, but like I said, I decided to reserve it for a different palette together with the Old Holland red. Look at this, you can already see the granulation and the color separation in this gray. Isn't this incredible? Look at this. I hope I'm able to catch this on the video, but really you can see some blue peeking through here. I'm gonna leave it like this so you can see the color change, but this is very, very beautiful. Now we have environmental, let me see the name again, Enviro-Friendly Brown Oxide by Daniel Smith. Also another granulating color. Then we have another Daniel Smith granulating and color separating color. This is Hematite Scarlet, Hematite Burnt Scarlet actually. It's a very, very beautiful color. You can see all my earth tones around here, they are quite textural, which I love. Now we have Burnt Sienna, also from Daniel Smith. This one with Ultramarine Finest also creates beautiful grays. It also has some texture. Now we are getting to the end of the palette and the row. Next one is a Schminke color, and this is Transparent Ochre. It isn't a color that I particularly reach out for, but I thought would be good to have an earthy yellow to mix greens with, and this is being transparent unlike other ochres. I thought it would be a good addition. I realized lately, swatching paints and doing some experimentation, that I don't really enjoy much working with opaque watercolors. There are some occasions that I would use it, but in general I prefer semi-transparent or transparent colors. So this is a good one if you enjoy ochres but you don't want to deal with the opacity of it. And finally, the last one is Buff Titanium by Daniel Smith. I just said I don't enjoy working with opaque colors, and here I am swatching an opaque color, but this is a very unique tone and can create beautiful pastel muted tones with it when you are in the mood for this type of tone. I think it's also a beautiful tone to paint maybe a background if you don't want to have the page white, you want to give some warmth to your background. And here we have it, all the 28 colors I selected for this spring palette. It's finally put together. Now I need to let this dry, as I usually do. Once they are dry, I'll come back and I will share a close-up of the colors. I'll see you soon. So I'm back. It's actually a new day. Finally the sun decided to come out, so I took the chance to record this last bit here for the swatches, and then I'm gonna show a close-up right now. So not only I let the swatches dry, I also did a little painting to test some of the colors I had selected. I decided to paint this bullfinch bird. I have this vintage book here, and I got a reference photo. This is my reference photo. You'll see that my bird is not exactly the same. Mine is quite chubby. I'm not really into doing realistic art, but I just wanted to test some of the colors, and I found this bullfinch was a good opportunity to use that rose doré. And I also used the green earth here on the leaves. I finished it with colored pencils, and from my experience with painting this bird, some things I noticed is that my selection of colors for the palette was missing a dark tone. I was always mixing grays and using the Van Dyke brown for the darkest tones in the bird, but I decided to include an extra color over here. I added a Payne's Gray from My Mary Blue that I had also swatched in the previous video. So I think that will be useful, because you can see here I was always mixing grays. I thought it would be a good, convenient color. Then for the Rose Doré and the Green Earth, I found they were very gummy to work with. I had a bit of trouble working with them because they wouldn't spread nicely as watercolor usually does. They would just stay in place, like a bit like when you have paints that have binder issues and then they get a bit gummy is the word that comes to mind, that they stay in place and they have this weird consistency. So yeah, I had a bit of trouble working with these colors, but I enjoyed nevertheless. I finalized, like I said, using some colored pencil for giving a bit more contrast and some details that I was not able to achieve with watercolor. I left here the main colors I used for this piece. So we have Rose Doré, Rose Madder Lake by Sennelier. Here is the Random Gray by Schminke, Greenish Umber by Rembrandt, and then Green Earth by Sennelier. So I hope you enjoyed and this journey with me, despite my a bit crooked chubby bird. I did my best to make use of these colors, and I will continue using them for sure for different paintings, and I'll be sharing if I do something more interesting in regards of maybe possible mixes or all the color combinations inside this palette, and I'm very happy to have these colors here to use in a more convenient way than having them stocked away in tubes. Now, what I was going to say, a color that really impressed me was this greenish umber. I found this very nice. The granulation and the color separation is really beautiful. I find this a very underrated color in my opinion. What else? Really enjoy all of these textures over here. I don't know why I got a bit of staining here, but yeah, I'm looking forward to doing some more experimentation with these colors. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please remember to give me that like, and I'll see you soon. Bye.